You know, there's been a little bit of a vibe that all eyes in the NFL have been on Cleveland this offseason. When you draft that dude on the left, Shedeur Sanders, in the 5th round, that'll grab a little attention there. Trying to move up the depth chart. We'll see him today against the Rams. And Sean McVay, meanwhile, that mad scientist mind when it comes to his offense. His team is loaded this season on the short list of potential Super Bowl teams. It's the Browns and Rams right here on NFL Network. Game day kickoff. It's presented by Best Buy. Welcome inside our NFL Network studios. Mike Yam, David Carr, Steve Weich with you. Here we go. Preseason. We're knocking on the door of week 1 of the regular season. But for some of these guys, really an audition to solidify a spot, whether it's moving up the depth chart or maybe even a starting role. But when it comes to QB1 in Cleveland, Joe Flacco, the guy, he and the starters, probably getting around 20 to 25 reps in this game. What's it like, the OG, when you're out there and you get your first reps of the preseason?
Honestly, just talking to Joe and I went out there to Cleveland, I think he's excited about this. It seems like he still loves the game. He's very healthy. He's got a live arm. So getting out there, and obviously with him being gone last year, too, he had some success here in Cleveland. But let's get out there. Let's get into a real game plan, which is going to be a little bit what we see today. Because you don't put the starters out there in the last preseason game and not do something trying to recreate what you're going to do week 1. So I think that'll be fun to see what this new offense looks like. And I say new, but it's old. It's now Kevin Stefanski went back to his roots, said we're going to install the offense we had a couple years ago, and let's get after it. It's going to be fun to watch.
And it's going to be good for Flacco because, remember, he was the backup last year with the Colts. He started a couple of games, but he hasn't played football in a while.
Yeah.
So the fact that he can actually get there on the field against the Rams, 3rd and 4th teamers, and get the whole operational thing going with the starting unit, I just think that whole part, David, you talk about this being a dress rehearsal for week 1 with maybe doing some scheming in here. I think that's really important for Flacco, again, because he just hasn't played in a game for, probably a calendar year almost.
Yeah, linking some of the mental reps with some of the physical ones, at least for about 25, 30 snaps in this ball game. Meanwhile, you got a couple rookies that are trying to solidify that QB2 spot, although Kenny Pickett's like, yo, Mike, pump the brakes here for just a second. We still have Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. Pickett, by the way, dinged up. But when it comes to these two players, this is what they've done in the preseason. Shedeur in week 1 really took the NFL by storm. Everyone was focused in on that performance. Gabriel didn't play in that game, came back in week number 2. You see what those numbers are. He looked pretty poised and ready to go. Now, what do we expect to see from both of these guys today? Bridget Condis, Cleveland, joins us right now. Bridget, always good to see you. Just break this down for me. We know Flacco is going to get the start in this game. What do we expect from Gabriel and Shedeur?
Yeah, well, Mike, I first want to talk about Flacco for a quick second because I just saw him out here, and it's worth noting that I know he's 40 years old, a lot of questions about his age, but he looked like he was throwing that ball so effortlessly, and he can still sling it for anybody wondering if he can. So he'll start. Kenny Pickett also out here warming up. He will not play today as he's working his way back from a hamstring injury. Why won't he play? Well, he just started back doing 11-on-11s this week in practice, so they're being a little bit cautious with him. So now the story that everyone wants to hear about, Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel. I'm told in a perfect world, Dillon Gabriel will get in around middle of the 2nd quarter, and then Shedeur will go in middle of the 3rd quarter and play the remainder of the game. As for what head coach Kevin Stefanski wants to see from these backups, he said it's pretty boring, but it's simple. How do these guys look running the offense? Can they spread the ball around? Can they get their teammates in the correct positions to run the correct plays? Shedeur Sanders did not play last week due to the oblique injury. He was back on the practice field this week and said he's feeling good in terms of that injury and needs to be able to go out there today and execute with no excuses. As for when he gets in today or this season, he said this week that whenever the pressure is there, whenever the lights come on, he knows the kind of player he is, and he's ready to showcase when his name gets called that he can be the player here in Cleveland. As for the pressure that these guys are feeling, everybody's feeling it here, Mike, with 3 days until cut-down day. I do want to mention, though, the last time a team had 4 quarterbacks to start the season was week 1, and it was the Saints. So it's not totally out of the question. It has been done before fairly recently. Not common, but something we're all watching as Tuesday gets closer.
Yeah, we'll get to take a Steve Weich and David Carr on that subject a little bit later here on Game Day Kickoff. On the flip side, Bridget, we got a Matthew Stafford. We have spent so much time on these shows talking about the health that he has and concerns about that back injury. It looks like the reports are positive, but as for today, don't expect to see him out on that football field. So what is the plan for QB1?
Yeah, Matthew Stafford isn't even here. He didn't make the trip to Cleveland. None of us slowly crept up in terms of the back injury. So he's doing everything he can to get ready for week 1. He was asked, will he be out there on week 1? And Mike, he didn't want to say yes or no, but they are happy that Stafford is back on the field today. It is Dresser Wynn at quarterback. Stetson Bennett will be dressed in case something happens to Dresser Wynn, but expect to see a lot of Dresser Wynn. I'm saying the name a lot because you guys gotta get ready. It's the first time that we're seeing him all preseason. So Dresser Wynn is our guy here for the Rams.
Let me just tell you this. Steve Weich is legitimately excited about this when we got the news that Dresser was going to give it a go. So Steve will be name-checking him throughout the course of this show. And a good nugget there on Matthew Stafford potentially in week number 1. I want to get David Carr's very good stuff there. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders, an opportunity to try to move up this depth chart. QB2, maybe. Won't get the start. That'll be Joe Flacco, followed by Dylan Gabriel. And Bridget Condon told us a little bit earlier here on Game Day Kickoff. Expect to see Shedeur in the second half, probably midway through that third quarter today. Meanwhile, Micah Parsons has been the center of a lot of attention, talking about his status with the Dallas Cowboys and potentially moving on via trade. Keeping the appetite, it's still strong for him, having those nachos before the game. Our insider, Mike Garafolo, joins us right now. Mike, always good to have you on the show with us. All right, Take me through this situation for Micah, because even during the game against the Falcons, we saw him kind of like laying back on that trainer's table. That created a lot of buzz. What do we need to know about the situation?
Well, that clip right there, let's start with that, where he makes the phone signal. Someone nearby mentioned about joining the Falcons, from what I gather from the reports on the scene. He said, hey, call me. And then later in the game, there was this one that was posted on social media, the image of Micah Parsons lying on the table, seemingly with his eyes closed. Now, from my understanding, and Micah clarified this, and another reporter clarified this as well, saying that was just for a brief moment. It's not like he was laying there like that for the entire game. Also, from my understanding, as he was lying down, he was watching the game on the big screen above him at AT&T Stadium. You know, that big monstrosity that Jerry Jones put up years ago as part of the selling point for the new stadium. Micah Parsons was partaking in that, so he was watching the game, and he did post on social media that he's always there for his teammates, and that's going to be a key thing. If he's not playing to start the season, he's still going to be involved. Here's the clarification from Micah Parsons in response to the reporter saying, nah, that was just a brief moment. He'd say, I'd never disrespect the guys out there fighting for their lives. I also believe this is tough for Micah Parsons because he's trying to stand on business while also watching all of his teammates out there practice and play every day. He's a competitive guy. He wants to be out there. And that's why I really feel like, and I've said this before, Jerry Jones looking like he's having a staring contest here. And if he thinks Micah Parsons is not going to miss a game,
is going to be fascinating to me, because I think the scenario that you just threw out there is the one that we'll all have eyes on. Is he willing to punt on a week 1 and that game check in order to prove a point, or at least get exactly what he wants? Meanwhile, today we will see the Browns right here on NFL Network in less than an hour's time against the Rams. So much conversation, Mike. I've been watching you guys on Insiders. I know the topic of 4 quarterbacks for the Browns has popped up more than once. So what's the realistic expectation of what we could see in terms of the roster management for the Browns?
Yeah, the Browns are going to have to make a decision in a couple of days, but it sounds like they've already made it. I am expecting the Browns to keep all 4 quarterbacks, especially with how Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders played in the preseason. So this carries into the regular season. You say, well, that's 4 quarterbacks. That's really holding you down from having other spots on the roster. The Browns did this last year. Their first roster, their initial 53-man roster, had 4 quarterbacks on it. So this is a competition that we talked about as a camp thing for the Browns. This is going to carry into the regular season. Now, the Pickett part is interesting because he has been limited in the work that he's been able to do, but he started to participate in team reps for the Browns. So I know a lot of folks are saying, well, you could injured reserve Kenny Pickett, and that'll give you a roster spot and give you more time to make that decision. If he's participating in team drills and he's ramping up, it's going to be hard to say, well, that's an injured reserve diagnosis. So I believe the Browns start with 4. Will they have 4 all the way through the season? I have no idea. We're going to have to see how the season progresses at this point. But right now, I am expecting all of them to be on the roster unless somebody blows them away with a trade.